So there are minor differences between Windows and Linux Meterpreter sessions. This is why I'd like to show you the Meterpreter session in both machines. In our last lecture, we had a Meterpreter session on Metasploitable Linux machine. Let's continue to see the basic Meterpreter commands on that session. So a good habit to get into is looking at the sysinfo, which is the first command that I run when I interact with a Meterpreter session, just so I can see which system I am in. Never hurts to double check. Okay, I'm on Metasploitable. Help is the second command I'd like to show. And not surprisingly, it shows the available commands in this Meterpreter session. Commands are grouped, and we'll talk about it more in the following lectures. But the command names are at the left-hand side, and the descriptions of the commands are on the right-hand side. And here's another command group. Anyway, so first of all, let's see how we can manage Meterpreter sessions. If you're in a Meterpreter session, you can go back to MSF console with the background command. And now we're on MSF shell. Sessions L is to list the active sessions. Now the sessions may or may not be Meterpreter sessions, but you'll see the session type in the third column of the sessions list. In fact, the sessions command with no parameter lists the sessions as well, so you don't need to use the L parameter. The first column of the list shows the ID numbers of the sessions. The information column shows the user and the system connected, and the connection column shows the attacker and the victim system's IP addresses and the connected ports. Use the sessions command with the I parameter to interact with any of these sessions. Simply give the ID number to the session you want to interact with. And we're in the Meterpreter session of the Metasploitable Linux again. Now, to see our current position in the target system, we'll use the pwd command. Okay, if you're familiar with the Linux system, you already know that the command is a standard Linux command to print working directory. Well, you're wrong. Here, it's a Meterpreter command, and it runs under the other operating system sessions as well, which I'll show you in a couple of minutes. The Meterpreter file system commands are mostly similar to the Linux file system commands. We're on the root folder. We can use the ls command to see the files in this folder, the cd command to change or to move to another folder, for example, etc., and now we are in etc folder. So we can use the cd command to go back to the root folder again. The next command is getuid. It's used to show which user you are on that system. We are the root user, which is very good for us, but not for the victim. GetPID is to see the ID number of the process that we are injected into, but it seems it's not available on Linux systems. Okay, I'll show it on a Windows system soon. Stay tuned. The PS command is to see the running processes on that system. So hashdump is a very useful command for ethical hackers. As you might guess, it lists the hashes of the user of this system. But remember, you can access the hash files if you have the root or the admin privileges. Otherwise, Meterpreter cannot gather the hashes. But don't worry, there are a few tricks up our sleeves to escalate the privilege. Well now, it seems Meterpreter does not have the hashdump command for Linux systems. But again, no worries, because we can use a post module to gather hashes. We'll see that in detail in the post exploitation lecture. So, just to show you that we have alternatives, let's run this post exploitation module. Run post /wind, no, not Windows, it's a Linux system, /gather/hashdump, and hit enter. Remember, Metasploit Framework and Meterpreter have code completion, so you can just use the tab key to complete the words. And here are the usernames and the password hashes. Now, I don't know if I need to stress to you that this is very important data. So we'll use these hashes for some of our purposes a little bit later. But first, let me show you that idle time is another useful Meterpreter command, which displays the number of seconds that the user at the remote machine has been idle. If you'd like to log out the user or restart the system for any reason, you had better look at the idle time first so you understand if the user is using the machine at that time or if he or she is away. And again, it seems that the idle time command doesn't work for the Linux systems. So I'll show it to you for the Windows system. Ifconfig command displays the network interfaces and addresses on the remote machine. Alternatively, ipconfig does the same thing. So Meterpreter also has the commands to interact with the local file system. Now, because you're on the Meterpreter session in the terminal window, you don't see the current position by default. So you want to use the lpwd command to see the local position. Think of it as the abbreviation of local print working directory. And to change the local position, you can use the lcd command. And double dot brings us one folder out, and give the path you want to go to as a parameter of the lcd command. Now, as you know, search command is used to look for the modules in a Metasploit framework console. In Meterpreter, the search command has a completely different purpose. It provides a way of locating specific files on the target host. The command is capable of searching through the whole system or specific folders. Wildcards, such as star, can also be used when creating the file pattern to search for. So give the file name with the F parameter. It'll find it and show the position if it exists. So here it is. Shadow file is under the etc folder. Now, don't fall into the trap. This is lpwd command, so it shows the local position. And we can use the cat command to see the content of the shadow file. And here are the password hashes once again. All right, so lastly, if you'd like to have a shell access to the target machine, you can use the shell Meterpreter command. So the channel is created, no command prompt, but it's okay, we have the shell. To see the list of files and folders, ifconfig to see the IP address. And because we're in a Linux shell, we cannot use Meterpreter's search command to find a file. We have to use the Linux find command instead. And type exit to exit the shell interaction. And we're in the Meterpreter session again.